Ironically, Agenda 21. Nobody? All right. There's an inside joke there with the Agenda 21 stuff. There's some people that will get that, but it just happens to be that this is the Agricultural Affairs Committee meeting, the 21st meeting of this term. Declarations of interest, we do have one. If you want to bring that forward. Councillor Blais, just on item number 4.
I, Councillor Stephen Blais, declare a potential direct pecuniary interest on the following report of Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee, Agenda 21, item 4 being the McKinnon's Creek petition for drainage works, appointment of engineer. This declaration is, as a result, my primary residence is situated within the location plan in the map in document 1.
Thank you. So when we get to that item, we'll just ask Councillor Blais to remove himself from the table. Confirmation of minutes from our meeting of October 6th, 2016. Is that carried? Communications, none. Response to inquiries. Received that. So this is a public meeting to consider the proposed zoning bylaw amendments listed as items 5 to 13 on today's agenda. For the items listed above, only those who make oral submissions today or written submissions before the amendments are adopted may appeal the matter to the Ontario Municipal Board. In addition, the applicant may appeal the matter to the Ontario Municipal Board if Council does not adopt an amendment within 120 days of receipt of the application for zoning and 180 days for official plan amendments. A comment sheet is available at the door for anyone wishing to submit written comments on these amendments. So we've got a number of items on the agenda. We've got 17, and we're going to go through the agenda right now and then hold the items that we have to come back to. Item number 1 is the 2017 draft operating capital budgets for the Agricultural Affairs Committee. We have a presentation on that and one speaker, so we'll hold that item. Item number 2, status update, Agricultural Affairs Committee inquiries and motions for the period ending 17th of November 2016. That the Agricultural Affairs Committee received this report for information. Is this received? Thank you. Item number 3, K&L lands, the proposed drainage diversion to the Kisel Municipal Drain. We do have a speaker on that item, so we'll hold item number 3. Item number 4, so Councillor Blais has removed himself from the table based on his conflict of interest potential. Item number 4 is the McKinnon's Creek petition for drainage works. It's just an appointment of an engineer to go over the drainage works for that area. That the Agricultural Affairs Committee recommend that Council proceed with the new drainage works and appoint Mr. Andy Robinson of Robinson Consultants as the engineer of record to prepare a report under Section 8 of the Drainage Act in response to a petition received under Section 4 of the Drainage Act as described in this report. Is that item carried? Carried. Thank you. You can come back. Item number 5 is a zoning bylaw amendment for part of 4175 Anderson Road. That Agricultural and Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 for part of 4175 Anderson Road to permit a detached dwelling and other uses permitted in the rural countryside zone designation as detailed in document 2. And the second part is just the consultation details of this of the motion. Is that item carried? Carried. Thank you. Item number 6. How many speakers are there? Bear with me 2 seconds. So I'll just hold item number 6. That's 471 Sangee Place. Item number 7, zoning bylaw amendment for 4000 Canaan Road. That the Agricultural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 for 4000 Canaan Road to permit expansion of an existing quarry as detailed in document 2. And then item number 2, which again is the consultation details section of the motion. We do have one speaker, Tracy Zander, on behalf of the applicant. Tracy, are you here? Yeah, right. So I think we're prepared to carry this right now. Are you okay with that? Yes. Perfect. Thank you. So on the item? Carried. Thank you. Item number 8 is a zoning bylaw amendment for part of 711 Vance's Side Road. The Agricultural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 for part of 711 Vance's Side Road to permit a mineral extraction operation known as the Kennedy Pit, as detailed in document 2. And again, item number 2 is the consultation details section. We do have a speaker again who is in favor, Steve Pence. Are you in relation to Mike Pence, by chance? Your brother's Mike Pence, but not the same Mike Pence that's vice president? Okay. Because that would be interesting. I might actually have you come up. Anyways, so if we carry this right now, you're okay with that? All right, thanks. So on the item, advance through. Carried. Thank you. Item number 9 is zoning bylaw amendment for part of 2469 Forest Road in Cumberland. That the Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee recommend council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 for part of 2469 Forest Road as shown in document 1 to prohibit detached dwellings as detailed in document 2. And item 2, again, consultation details section of the motion. On item number 9, carried. Thank you. Item number 10 is an official plan and zoning bylaw amendment for 6265 Perth Street in Richmond. We have a speaker on that, so we will hold that item. Item number 11, official plan and zoning bylaw amendments for 6219 and 6317 Dwyer Hill Road. That the Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee recommend that council approve amendments to the natural environment area on Schedule A of the official plan as detailed in document 2. And 2, recommend that council approve amendments to the zoning bylaw 2008-250 for part of 6219, 6317 Dwyer Hill Road and vacant lots of record as detailed in document 3. And 3, approve the public consultation section of this report. No speakers on that item? Carried. Thank you. Item number 12 is an official plan zoning bylaw amendments for 3150 and 3200 Rita Road. We have speakers on that item, so we'll hold that item. Item number 13, zoning bylaw amendment for temporary campgrounds at city facilities for Canada Day weekend in 2017. This is primarily in the urban area, but I believe there's one location in Kinburn, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? Right. So that the Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee recommend council approve amendments to zoning bylaw 2008-250 as shown in document 2 and detailed in document 4. And that the Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee approve the consultation details section of this report. So again, this is something that we're looking at citywide to provide more options for people that are coming to Ottawa on Canada Day weekend, and we're creating some temporary campgrounds at city facilities. So on that report, carried. Thank you. Item number 14 is our official plan amendments with regard to the land evaluation area review. So we're going to hold that item. Item number 15, 2017 updates to the Ontario Wildlife Damage Compensation Program. This is really in response to some changes made at the province as to how we administer our wildlife damage compensation program, so that the Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee recommend council approve repealing bylaw 2001-10, which permits council to appoint livestock valuers in support of the province's Ontario Wildlife Damage Compensation Program, and 2, an amendment to the delegation of authority bylaw to authorize general manager planning, infrastructure, and economic development to appoint and release municipal investigators, livestock valuers, on behalf of council. So essentially, we'll be doing all the same things that we do when it comes to livestock valuation, except for actually setting the price. That'll now go to the province. This is something that they've put in place, and we have to change our policies with respect to that. I guess this comes into effect, I believe, January 1st of 2017. And again, the process that we take for livestock valuation will be very similar to what we've always done, except the last part, which is setting the value, will go to the province as per changes that they've brought forward recently. So on that item, carried. Item number 16, Riddell Drive to be renamed Cameron Harvey Drive. This is an item that Councillor El-Shantiri brought forward at the last meeting of Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee. That Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee recommend that Council approve that Riddell Drive be renamed Cameron Harvey Drive. Did you want to speak to it at all?
No, Mr. Chair, the process has been ongoing, and I think staff just need our approval today to continue. The name has been vetted, and I think we're on our way. We're just waiting for today to approve this here and go to council.
Perfect. So on the item?
Thank you.
Carried. And we also have an additional item, item number 17. Did you want to introduce that item?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. I think some of our colleagues would know this item coming to us time and time again every time we talk about dog kennels in the rural area. little bit of history on 754 Bayview Drive. This has been dock canal operation for almost many years before amalgamation, and when we amalgamate with the city, was grandfathered and was licensed by the city all along until some neighboring disputes start taking place. And now the city will not be issuing license because the property does not conform with the zoning. So what we're looking for in this, Mr. Chair, I can read it for you, where the dock canal is in operation at 754 Bayview Drive, and whereas the premises are not zoned for dock canal to operate, and whereas the license has been issued by the city for the dock canal at this address, but cannot be renewed given that premises are not zoned for dock canal, and whereas the appropriate to allow for a period for this operation of the dock canal at 754 Bayview Drive to wind down operation. Therefore, be it resolved that Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend that Council direct staff to initiate a temporary rezoning to permit the dock canal at 754 Bayview Drive for a period of 3 years, subject to the owner period of such a initiative, providing a written confirmation that the operation will cease at the end of the 3 years period. Plan and rotate would be other related study indicated by staff. So basically, Mr. Chair, if we can allow a temporary zoning for 3 years, and automatically the operator or the lady owns the operation will close her operation, but this way she can sell all her animals without basically without get rid of them at this time. So that 3 years would allow her plenty of time. I believe she had a petition, most of the surrounding neighbor, I think with the exception of one, but that's a process we'll have to deal with. But right now, that's a direction to staff. I'm supposed to be reading this first. The Agriculture Rural Affairs Committee, November 24, 754 Bayview Drive, that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee approve the addition of this item for consideration by the committee at the 24th November meeting, pursuant to Section 8.9, subsection 3 of the Procedures Bylaw.
So on adding the item to the agenda? Carried. And on the item itself, on 754 Bayview Drive, is that item carried? Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So that's it for the regular agenda. We do have two reports that were previously distributed. One, I'm going to ask the committee that we can lift it from the agenda to permit a presentation. It's a proposed official plan amendment on significant woodlands policy. Now, this is currently still being worked at. Its plan is for it to go to the December 13th meeting of Planning Committee, and then to Council on December 14th. Because this is our last opportunity to meet before the end of the year, I've asked staff to come here and provide us with an update on the significant woodlands policy and how it pertains to the rural area. So on adding that to the agenda.
Okay.
Great, thank you. So that'll be item 18 on the agenda, and we'll hold that for a presentation at the end. So we'll go back to the start of the agenda with item number 1, which was a presentation on the 2017 budget for Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee. And I think John Moser and Alain Gontier will be doing the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Also joined by the Deputy City Treasurer, Isabel Jasmine, so she'll be able to help us if we get into any deep issues in terms of the budget. So we're here today to speak to the committee's budget in terms of its operating and capital budget. As I mentioned at Planning Committee on Tuesday, we have to, because of the all the realignment that was done, reorganization that was done in the city, the budgets truly don't match all of the changes that have been made. That reconciliation will be completed in the beginning of the new year, and certainly going forward in future budget, everything will be reconciled to the new organization. But in terms of the budget in front of committee, in terms of the operating, relates to the planning infrastructure area, the development review in the rural area. Basically, there's a no change in terms of the development review component. There is a reduction of $317,000 in the overall operating budget. Really relates to an allocation of monies from the overall reduction that was achieved through the recent review and recent reorganization. So it tends to be mostly monies that were saved through the reorganization in terms of the business services group, in terms of the management changes that were made. So it does reflect overall a allowance of $317,000 in operating. The only thing I'd like to mention in terms of operating, in terms of the fees, although the fees were considered by Planning Committee on Tuesday, I just wanted to mention that there is a 2% increase in all the planning fees. In terms of the building permit fees, there's an across-the-board 20% reduction in fees. So certainly any of the fees related to the rural area will see a reduction for building permits of the 20%. In terms of the capital program, we do have a $12.4 million of new capital money in the budget. That's really made up of authority that I'll go into the details. It does include, though, council has, or in this budget, there's a $1 million increase in the rural roads upgrade monies, and this budget shows the first $500,000 of that. The second $500,000 will be in the 2018 budget. There's also within the budget, not all of it is pointed towards the this Rural Affairs Committee, the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee, but there is an increase from the federal programs that Council has approved, and we have the money related to the infrastructure funds and also to the clean water funds. So many of those dollars are pointed toward this budget. In terms of just how the source of the capital funding, it's pretty well split half and half between tax debt and reserves, pretty consistent with how this has been over time. In terms of the new monies that I mentioned, the $12.4 million. No, okay, I guess I went too fast. So the next slide just talks about generally how we deal with the renewal of the assets in terms of, certainly the assets are safe and generally in good repair, but certainly over time our infrastructure continues to deteriorate. And Council, as the committee is aware, has had a multi-year program to be able to address this issue. So it continues, important to be within our long-range financial plan to be able to continue to commit money to our asset renewal, and this year is no different. And as always, we point our infrastructure dollars to those assets that certainly have the higher risk to us providing service. So in terms of the numbers, a lot of numbers on this table, and if certainly there's any questions from committee, Mr. Gontier or myself can answer some of the details on it. So in terms of the $12.46 million, it's split into three areas: the structures. So basically, it could be for instance, the design and construction of bridges and other structures that we have. There's the road reconstruction in terms of the upgrades, and then there's a road reconstruction in terms of just a lot of that is part of that $500,000 that was added into the budget. There is certainly almost more than double that, triple that money that's in the rural areas taking place, but it is pointed to other committees, whether it's Transportation Committee, certainly a lot of all that. The parks and buildings, that's pointed towards the CPAC. And so we end up having in the rural area about $47 million worth of capital work that's going to take place next year. So, I think a significant undertaking, certainly helped by the influx of money from the federal programs. I've got a couple of slides in terms of project highlights. The details are in the budget, but certainly in terms of anticipated taking place, and the first slide shows the design or construct in terms of
those projects. The next slide just carries on with the list in terms of the projects that we are doing. And from that, Mr. Chair, certainly,
Capital Heavy Construction Association. And he's with you. Often your friend to us.
So in the past, you've come here with, I think, Charles Dickens and Robert Frost, so hopefully you're as inventive this evening, or this morning, I guess, you see this, so of course I'll get plenty more in the coming weeks. Okay, so to build on what John and Wayne were presenting on the infrastructure program coming up in 2017, I'm Ken McIntyre. I'm the president of the National Capital Heavy Construction Association this year, and I'm accompanied by our executive director, Dale Harley. And thank you for the opportunity to provide input into the 2017 tax-supported budget. I am sure many of you will recall last year's Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee presentation was entitled The Road Not Taken, and the 2014 presentation, A Tale of Two Cities. The theme of this year's presentation, in memory of the late Leonard Cohen, is entitled Hallelujah. For those who are not Cohen fans, verse 4 of Hallelujah starts off with, "Baby, I've been here before. I know this room. I've walked this floor." I'm sure Mr. Cohen was referring to the National Capital Heavy Construction Association.
How many people thought they were going to come here and hear Leonard Cohen lyrics? Anyone?
The final verse, verse 6, ends with, "I'll stand before the Lord of song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah." So today I stand before you and say hallelujah. And why am I saying hallelujah? The reason is simple. In 2017, the city is proposing to invest almost $290 million in our road infrastructure, and over two-thirds of that in renewals. The investment is forecasted to peak in 2019 at over $400 million before dropping significantly in 2020, and even with the exclusion of the 57 lanes. This will permit the city to repair or resurface over 110 kilometers of roads in 2017 in the rural area.
The overall road resurfacing and rehabilitation budget has not increased significantly over the past few years. The investment in preservation treatments and road resurfacing is up significantly. And again, we say hallelujah. For the first time in 4 years, the City of Ottawa has actually met and exceeded its next year forecast for transportation capital investment. While this year's $289 million investment is well below the $362 million forecasted in 2014, it is significantly above the 2017 investments forecasted in 2015 and 16. Why is this investment in roads so important? As taxpayers and business owners in Ottawa, we are concerned about the poor quality of City of Ottawa roads and the negative impact this has on our local economy. While it may be our opinion that the quality of roads is poor in Ottawa, it is also the findings of the Ontario Municipal Benchmarking Initiative. Once again, for the fourth consecutive year, their 2015 report revealed that Ottawa had the worst roads of the major cities participating in their benchmarking study. Only 21% of paved roads in Ottawa were rated as being in good or very good condition, and this compares to a mean of 57%. Clearly, road infrastructure in Ottawa needs attention. And that being said, the condition of Ottawa roads has consistently improved 2% each year since 2012. It should also be noted that the OMBI report reveals that 68% of bridges, culverts, and viaducts in Ottawa were rated as being in good or very good condition. This is just below the average of 72%. It is fair to say that the concern with respect to the condition of roads is not just isolated to Ottawa. The results of a national poll conducted on Ipsos for Global National this fall revealed that 53% of respondents indicated that roads are in poor condition. When asked what types of infrastructure should be made a priority for investment, Canadians said roads, highways, and water supply management should be their focus. And speaking of investment, upper tiers of government play a critical role in the funding of infrastructure. While the city and the mayor have set out a solid plan and have achieved it with over $3 billion in LRT funding commitments, it's unfortunate that we cannot be treated the same as Toronto when it comes to funding support for the transit. Unfortunately, with Ottawa having to pay a much greater share for the LRT system, there is little left over for road renewals. It is hard to criticize the mayor for keeping an election promise of maintaining tax increases below 2%. With that being said, maybe the mayor and council should start thinking about their re-election plans in October 2018 and reconsider a capital tax levy that could be dedicated for roads and infrastructure. The city of Gatineau plans to raise property taxes for property owners by 1.9% in 2017, and a further 1% tax increase is to be dedicated entirely to trying to deal with Gatineau's growing backlog of infrastructure projects. So in conclusion, as Leonard Cohen so pointedly sang, hallelujah. Last year, we noted that Council had reached a fork in the road when it comes to transportation infrastructure, and it would appear that this year the city has taken the right road. Thank God for that, and we pray that we stay on track, and I'm sure that the vast majority of Ottawa residents would agree. Maybe we can look forward to some divine intervention in 2018 and hope for a dedicated infrastructure levy during the next term of Council. Thank you.
I know you might want to clap, but you're not supposed to clap. The reason why we don't allow clapping, because then if we allowed clapping, we'd have to allow booing, which sometimes we might want to do, and it wouldn't be fair. So thank you for that. I think infrastructure municipally will be quite prominent in the news today because Mayor John Tory is likely announcing the introduction of tolls on the Don Valley Parkway and the Gardiner Expressway, where it'd be $2 per car per day. So that's expected to make Toronto hundreds of millions of dollars. So it'll definitely, the status of municipalities when it comes to road infrastructure will definitely be in the news with that announcement. I don't think that's the direction that Ottawa wants to go in. We've talked about tolls at council before, and we've rejected the idea. But certainly you will see discussion around that in the coming days. Unfortunately, do we have any questions for the delegation? A comment? Go ahead, Councillor DeRusse.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much this morning, Mr. McIntyre and Mr. Harley. I enjoyed the Hallelujah presentation. It's different from last year's. I just want to thank you for your continuous work with our city staff and bringing all the items and bringing some very important key and issues to our budget process. I know you guys work always entirely hard with our staff, so I want to thank you both for being here this morning and thank you for your presentation.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor El-Shantiri.
Perhaps for after, not for the delegation. The delegation, thank you for your presentation, but to our staff, I would be asking about the OMBI and the contribution we are doing with the OMBI. Are we still? We heard from other municipality, and as I sit on rural municipality of Ontario, OMBI is almost. It's not apple to apple sometimes. So I'd like to know, is the information we've seen today, is that really a representative of our situation? Or because some of the other municipality, they view things differently than we are. So I'll be interested from our side.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, that's always a bit of a challenge with the OMBI is whether or not we're comparing apples to apples. And I think in the case of roads, I don't think that we're all using the same definition as to what constitutes good and very good. We also have another comparative, which is with the Canadian Infrastructure Report Card that also provides information in terms of condition of roads. And that one also shows that basically Ottawa it's fairly comparable with the national report card, but certainly shows that there are areas where we're starting to lag behind in terms of having more and more roads that are in poor and very, very poor condition. So certainly supporting Council's previous direction of providing more investments towards road assets. But to your specific point, the OMBI comparison is always a bit of a nebulous one just because we're not all using the same parameters.
Okay. I'll be asking staff after about the budget, but now just for this one. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken. Thanks, Dale. So one of the questions, I know just to comment, I mean, obviously the Agricultural Affairs Committee budget that you see today is relatively small, and that's because, as Mr. Moser mentioned, a lot of the projects, especially when it comes to road resurfacing, culvert renewal, which happens to be in the rate budget for the environment services, those happen to be in other budgets. A lot of projects that go on in the rural area are funded out of multiple budgets, but we just focus on the Agricultural Affairs Committee budget here today. So questions to staff. Councillor Ashantiri.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And as we saw earlier, we done a great job with the culvert and bridge repair and other area where it's needed. Actually, before we start focusing on the roads, because we all know in order to have a good road, you have to have a good drainage or good ditch or good culvert. But what I'm interested in 2012, you did the asset management report, and with that report, it opened our eyes on many things where we need to invest in. And since 2012, we are been investing, but I don't see us catching up with that investment. It seems, and we hear sometimes from whether the heavy construction folks or other telling us with the low interest rate, would be easy for us to borrow the money than wait and get the road, get it in a worse condition, because we don't need OMBI or we don't need heavy construction to tell us how bad our road. I think our residents do a great job calling us about this every day. So I'm interested in your assessment in our own study where it shows asset management with the city. Are we catching up with that?
So, Chair, if we go back to the 2012 report when we presented the comprehensive asset management program along with the long-range financial plan, at that point, we did indicate that there was a significant gap between the current investment levels and what was needed to sustain our roads and our assets of good repair. So the decisions that were made are certainly getting us towards those objectives. We recognize that would be it's a multi-year plan. It's not something that's going to be addressed overnight. But what we're starting to see now is basically a gradual progression towards the level that we should be investing on an annual basis. The challenge that we have in the meantime is every year that goes by where we're not funding at the level that we should be investing means that we have more and more roads that are deteriorating, and we're certainly seeing that in the network. So it's not a 1-year fix. The concern with advancing funding is it needs a sustained effort and it needs sustained funding. So trying to just address basically 1 year is not necessarily what's going to get us to that sustainability piece. I think that the track that Council is on now is on the right track. It's one where we've shown progression every year. And as long as we can continue to sustain that track, eventually we will start to get over that hump. But right now we're still in a state where the deterioration is being shown. And as you have indicated, we're well aware of it. The community is well aware of it also.
So how much, just to the benefit of the public, how much this year would see increase and how much next year in that budget?
So when we look at tax investments, we look at overall tax investments that support roads, bridges, and our buildings, which are also important. What we had identified was basically to maintain those tax-supported assets in a state of good repair. Back in 2012, we needed about $165 million in terms of investments. The budget that's in front of you is now, I think, a little over $100 million. So, which is basically over $20 million of an increase in terms of where we're at in 2012, where at that time we were around the $75 to $80 million a year. So we have seen increases. And you will continue to see increases in future years as we sustain the strategy that's put forward.
And we seem in our budget, we are counting on a federal funding to some area. And do we have a plan B if that funding doesn't come in from the federal? Like we talk about perhaps paving the shoulders in a rural area to accommodate the new sexy things called bicycle in a rural area, which is we have so many of them, and our road clearly can't accommodate without paving the shoulders. So we have to do one of the two. So when we say, okay, the federal is going to make investment in that area, but that's not a sure thing either, as we all know, right?
Correct. And what round of provincial or federal funding is that a lot of those funding targets have gone towards transit infrastructure or active mobility. So in terms of maintaining roads and existing bridges, the government was pretty clear that that was not the priority of the funding programs that they were putting forward. The one area where we are seeing benefits are on the water and wastewater fund, where in this budget you're seeing some fairly significant increases in terms of renewal of culverts. A lot of them are in a rural area, and albeit they're not providing a black surface in terms of the road, to the earlier point that you made, there's still critical infrastructure to rural communities, because without proper drainage, without proper structures, it is also impacting the integrity of our roads. So we are seeing benefits from the provincial and federal funding programs, but probably not to the extent that we were hoping to see when it came to renewal of roads and bridges.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ella.
Thank you. Any other questions on the budget? Seeing none, I know we have a motion to adopt from Councillor DeRuse.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommended that Council, sitting as a committee of the whole, approve the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee 2017 draft operating and capital budget, including amendment page 4 and 5 as follow. Number 1, development review process, rural operating resource requirement, page 3. Number 2 is the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee's capital program, page 4, individual project listed, page 9 to 21.
So on item number 1, carried. On item number 2.
Carried.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who came to. If there's any staff here that was just here for the budget, you can go back to work. So the next item that we held was item number 3, K&L lands. The proposed drainage diversion to the Kizzle Municipal Drain, report findings, recommendations, and appointment of engineer for supplemental study and report. Now we have changed the recommendation that was before us. The second recommendation spoke to Phase 9 lands. We just have a supplementary motion that will just modify that. If Councillor DeRuse can just introduce that, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair, whereas KNL has provided information that there is an existing Ministry of Environment certificate of approval for the Beaver Pound stormwater facility that accommodates Phase 9 of their development. Therefore, be resolved that recommendation number 2 be amended to remove a proposed development from the portion of KNL Phase 9 lands and replace it with existing and approved follows from the Beaver Pound Stormwater Management Facility.
Thank you. Thank you. If some people are wondering why this item comes to Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee based on the fact that it's in Canada North, the way that the terms of reference work for our committee is that all municipal drainage items across the city do come to Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee, which is why item number 4 as well, it deals within the urban area, but it comes into the rural area within Cumberland Ward. So we do have staff here, if necessary, to speak to the item. I know Councillor Wilkinson is here as well. Thank you for taking the time to come. But we have one speaker on the item, and it's Faith Blackyer. And we'll invite you up to the podium here. Thank you, Ms. Belkier. I know you have a presentation for us. I just want to remind you that we have 5 minutes to present to us. Go ahead. Thank you.
We don't have all the councillors. We don't have all the councillors at the table.
One stepped away for a second. There's only 5 of us, so one just happened to step away.
So shall I start my 5 minutes before he returns?
Yeah, it's okay. You can start.
Okay, thank you. I'm one of the 4 interested persons who attended the kitchen meeting in 2014. The others are unable to attend, but share these conspicuous black line on the map at the left. The water course was diverted in 2002 when the Marsh
golf course was built. And so far, the engineer's report and staff reports have not provided an accurate map. The one on the right is missing Phase 9 and all is the old one. We would say applications will be limited to the downstream of Leggett. The report says KNL should proceed, but KNL doesn't. What's needed to improve the list to be made are issues which need to be resolved. For example, clarification of the recommendations. Is diversion still required? Will Phase 9 lands which are not in the way included? KNL draft need to be reversed. The final draft plan is available. Switch to soon. There's also the KNL Stormwater Management Plan. Which alternative? Which phase? Will the Phase 2 study what sizes and emissions? The lack of decisions will impact the Section 8 engineer's ability to undertake study, and the engineer can't do all of the required work. With the Section 78 report to protect the city from liability or to prevent flooding. The Kizzel and Walter Bowes municipal drain should be abandoned and a proper study should be done to resolve all the issues. It would be better to use the $1.7 million budget on rural roads than on this project. Actually, I like the Drainage Act because it requires people to consider sufficient outlet, which you don't always see when you just have a water course. And I really would like to see KNL get going on this. I mean, we all know that it's going to happen, and why should they have to wait another year or so to do this work when it's only going to solve a little tiny bit of the problem downstream? The section between Leggett and the Beaver Pond, there are improvements have to be made there too, and this report is not recommending that be done. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you. I should point out, that the intent of this report before us is to receive some of the works that are even done. The report's already done. It's to appoint a drainage engineer to look at the next steps. Right? We've identified that the Kisel drain doesn't have sufficient capacity, and the intent is to appoint Mr. Robinson to review the Kisel drain, any potential modifications that need to be brought forward. So that the process here, the schedule we have is if committee approves it today, we appoint the engineer. The engineer will then go and prepare an engineer's report on this file and then come back to committee and council likely at the end of 2017 with his report, with the engineer's report, and then staff recommendations on that. Of course, Dave Ryan is here as well. But I don't know, do we have any questions specifically for Ms. Blackier? No? So thank you for your time to come here today. I appreciate it. I know that you were prepared to come here October 6th, and at last minute we had to delay that, so I apologize for that.
Yes, I don't know if I'll be able to make it again in 2017 or 18 when your next report comes in.
Thank you for taking the time. I know you submitted comments too. I know I was with one of our drainage superintendents yesterday when the comments came in. We were reviewing those, or he was looking at those.
A lot of legal issues surrounding this, that the drain shouldn't actually be retained.
Fair. That's a point that you're allowed to make. I would say though, as much as I would love to take the money from this and spend it on rural roads, municipal drains are privately funded. So if K&L wants to come to me and give me $1.7 million to spend on rural roads, I will gladly accept it. But that's unfortunately not the way that it's not city money going towards these municipal.
Yes, K&L isn't the only one that's going to be spending the money.
It's fair. I'm just saying the point is it's private money, not city money.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Thank you for taking the time.
Okay.
Do we have any questions on the application or on the report for Mr. Ryan? No. Councillor Wilkinson, did you want to make any comments? Did you have any questions? Right. Exactly. All right, thank you. So on the amendments. Sure, with the committee's indulgence. Mr. Dreesen, come on up and speak.
Where exactly the Kisel, where the Kisel drain begins and where it ends? It's clear that Section 78.
Section 78 appointment of an engineer under the Drainage Act cannot be used to study the implication of an extension of the drainage or to accommodate increased flow as a result of diversion. So the staff report carefully states that the purpose is to address the required repairs and identify required modifications to accommodate Phase 9 lands that are currently within the KMD drainage area. But clearly, the elephant in the room is K&L's desire to divert 150 hectares from Shirley's Brook to Kisel. And to deny that this is what it's really all about, strains credibility. So, never mind that apparently nobody has yet examined the impact on Shirley's Brook if such a diversion were to be implemented. This drain and the fact that it's a municipal drain appears to have been much forgotten over the years. Several works have taken place outside the Drainage Act framework.
The Stantic report of March 2016 identifies many deficiencies, and one telling deficiency to our mind is update assessment schedule per the current land use ownership and watershed land uses. So that hasn't been done for a number of years. As you also saw just before, that there are new floodplain maps for the Kizil watercourse and drain that are due soon. So we wonder what's the rush. The bottom line is this. We recommend that you first defer this proposed appointment of an engineer under Section 78, and second, instead, seek consensus to abandon this municipal drain under Section 84 of the Act. The Environmental Commissioner of Ontario has noted some years ago that the Drainage Act is not well suited for managing drainage in urban areas. Getting out from under the strictures of the Drainage Act would allow a more comprehensive and balanced analysis of the options encompassing the Kizil watercourse and drain, Watts Creek, Shirley's Brook, Beaver Pond, and the related provincially significant wetlands. The Phase 2 stormwater management study that was commissioned by the city was a step in the right direction. It identified 4 alternatives for drainage of phases 7, 8, and 9, and one option involved no diversion of Shirley's Brook. And by the way, and in closing, before the summer, we were offered a briefing on planning matters by Ms. Leanne Snedden. We asked for a briefing on the status of KNL's stormwater management plan, and we were promised an answer in September. We're still waiting. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Again, this report before us is appointing an engineer. It's not the council's position or role to go about and abandon municipal drains that are formed under the Drainage Act by petition for private landowners. It's not our role. If the private landowners that are impacted by the municipal drain want to abandon a drain, they can present a petition to council. That hasn't happened. What we do have is a report before us to appoint an engineer. Do we have any questions for Mr. Dreesen? None? Thank you for your time. So on the DeRue's amendments, carried, and on the report, carried. Thank you very much. So the next item that we held was item number 6, which is a zoning bylaw amendment for 41 Sandgate Place in Richmond. I held it just because I have a motion that I wanted to bring forward. This is a unique file. I know we do have a speaker too. I don't know if he still wants to speak, but I'll put the motion forward. But first, so this is a file that goes back to the mid-'90s. It's an incredible amount of time to spend on a 20-lot subdivision. But that is exactly what this is. So it was broken into 2 phases back in the mid-'90s when they were working with Goulburn Township. They had dedicated some land to the township at the time. Of course, policies change over time, and Phase 2 came before us, and there was the consideration of Cashingloo Parkland. So in an effort to try to recognize somewhat what had been done previously and to provide some sort of relief, I just have a motion here that would speak to a quasi-deferral of Cashingloo Parkland to be collected over time. So the motion is, whereas the proponent had conveyed land to the city in a previous subdivision agreement known as Phase 1, and whereas the land is not suitable for parkland designation under the Planning Act, and whereas the proponent has been in development review process with respect to the subdivision for a significant period of time, and whereas staff has the right to request Cashingloo Parkland as part of the development review process, and whereas the conveyance of the lots in what is known as Phase 2 is expected to take place over an extended period of time, therefore be it resolved that the owner be permitted to pay the cash in lieu of parkland amount in stages, being at registration and at the conveyance of individual lots. Sorry, I haven't circulated it yet. I will. I'm just reading it, but I will give it to you. Again, so the cash in lieu of parkland amount will be in stages, to be paid in stages, being at the registration and the conveyance of individual lots, the details of which shall be to the satisfaction of the General Manager of Planning, Infrastructure, and Economic Development Department. So I just wanted to introduce that before we go to speakers. I know Fred Logan had signed up to speak, but I believe it's going to be Mark Snyder from McIntosh Perry on behalf of the applicant. Thanks, Mark. So you have 5 minutes to address the committee.
Okay. Thank you very much. I do have a memory stick with some mapping if necessary, but I think it's a fairly straightforward presentation. This is a second phase of an existing subdivision. Jock River Estates 1 was approved several years ago. This is Jock River Estates Phase 2, composed of 10 lots, and it's an existing country lot residential subdivision. This rezoning application follows an official plan amendment that was approved in May of 2013 and draft subdivision approval in May of 2015. And the rezoning request is to fulfill a condition of draft approval that the lands be zoned appropriately. The land is currently zoned rural countryside, and they are to be rezoned, the 10 residential lots to be rezoned rural residential subzone 2 special exception and rural residential subzone 2. The rural residential subzone 2 is consistent with the zoning on the Phase 1 lands. The special exception is to address some concerns that came out of the environmental impact study concerning a mature forest. So it would increase the rear yard setback to 60 meters to protect more forested land. The final component of the rezoning is to zone 2 blocks of land on the plan of subdivision open space, subzone R. And they are going to be conveyed to the City of Ottawa for open space, passive parkland purposes. And it too is consistent with adjacent lands that were conveyed to the city as part of Phase 1 lands. They are wooded lands adjacent to the Jock River. So that is the effect of the requested rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and also thank you for your patience. I know we've been working on this for quite some time. It far predates my time as a councillor, but I appreciate the time that you've put into this, and happy that we've gotten to this point. So I know you heard the motion that, so just to be clear, that motion is to be moved by Councillor Derues. We just need committee's permission to add the motion to bring the motion forward. It's not technically pertaining to this issue. It's pertaining to the development as a whole. So I just need permission of the committee to add the item. And then, so the motion we moved by Councillor Derues. But you understand, I know that we had spoken about cash in lieu and some of the considerations, and what that motion will do will help as the lots are sold. You can pay it over time as opposed to the one lump sum at the start. Again, it's doing our best to recognize that this has been some time in the making. Again, it's I think a lot per year of planning is what you end up with. So it's been an arduous process. But or did you support that motion that we put forward? Okay. Thank you. Any questions? I don't have any questions for Mr. Snyder. We're good. All right. Thank you very much for taking the time. So on the Derues motion, carried, and on the item itself, that Agricultural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve the amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 for 471 Sangy Place to rezone a part of the property to rural residential zone and a part of the property to open space zone in order to facilitate the development of a residential plan subdivision as defined in document 1 and as detailed in document 2. And item number 2, that Agricultural Affairs Committee approve the consultation details section of this report. On the item? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you. Our next item is item number 10. Yeah. Yes, item number 10, which is the official plan zoning bylaw amendment for 6265 Perth Street. We don't have a presentation on it. What this is in Richmond, and it is a development application to permit a new medical facility. After what seems to be 40 or 50 years, the only doctor in town is retiring, and a number of doctors have moved in to take the place and to take on the patients, and what those doctors have worked with is a local developer to build a new medical facility. They've also been working with the IDA in town. The IDA will be relocating to that new facility with a pharmacy on the site. This motion, this recommendation, this report
an application speaks to that. So right now, the property is not zoned to permit this use, and that is what the report before us is. So this is the application here. It's at the corner of Rochelle and Perth Street, just kitty corner to the fire hall in the village of Richmond. We do have three speakers. Three speakers on the item. So the first delegation is Lisa Bushy. Is that Sarah? Lisa? On behalf of medical management. And the mic's actually already on for you, so go ahead and sit there, and then you have 5 minutes.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Lisa, and I'm one of the project coordinators involved in the planning and creation of the new medical complex at 6265 Perth Street in the community of Richmond. To begin, I would like to give you a bit of history about the Richmond project and how we have come to be where we are now. The community of Richmond and the entire surrounding rural area has long been